What he also is we're really lucky to have him. We're really lucky to have him for two reasons. One, his beard is not fully grown in yet. You think I'm kidding? It's coming. It's coming. His beard has its own zip code. Me, on the other hand, I haven't shaved for like 3 weeks, and you can't even tell. So, but also, he spent a significant amount of time in Australia recently, and is only just now I can stop yelling. He's only now just back here with us, and we were able to grab him for exactly 20 minutes.
That's a hint.
The people that are laughing they know he has 48 slides. Please join me in welcoming. While I'm welcoming him, I gotta get his slides up. All of that.
Excuse me, can you have some more water? Water, please.
Thanks.
Water.
Thank you, Andy and Herman, two of my closest buddies in this room. And of course, Khalid over there, who has volunteered to video whatever I am going to say. Mario, thank you for a great talk, sir. Every achievement of Mario, Andy was in his crib. More importantly, Mario has brought his wife with him, and I have left mine roughly 10,000 miles away in Australia, Sydney. And if you ask me why I am happily married, I say that's why. My name is Bhuvan Unhelkar. I belong to Muma College of Business, University of South Florida. And I moved here from Australia 7 years ago. And I plan to continue to stay here for at least 7 more when my next sabbatical comes. And by that time, Andy will have organized a lawnmower to remove the facial hair that I'm growing. The topic is envisioning digital leadership. We engineers tend to be labeled as nerds and geeks, but we are actually artists as well. And to me, leadership and digital leadership in particular is as much an art form as science or engineering. So I'm going to pitch my remaining 18 and a half minutes on significance in digital leadership. This is my resume. I had my PhD from University of Technology, Sydney, Professor Brian Henderson Sellers. He used to be in Oxford, UK, and then he moved down south. And as most of you in America think, Australians are all hanging upside down because of autism, and the blood flows into their brains much easily. But doing a PhD with Brian was character building. I have 25 books, none of which my wife has read. And I don't encourage you to read if you are able to sleep peacefully at night. But if you have any insomnia kind of problems, any of the 25 books, any page, 5 minutes. I had started with Y2K. I am fellow of the Australian Computer Society. I was elected to this very prestigious rank in 2002, again when Andy was in his crib. And after moving here, I became IEEE member, and I'm part of life member of Computer Society of India. I also do a lot of Rotary work, which I believe ties in very well with significance in digital leadership. This is the book I'm very proud of because it's in engineering series in CRC Press, and the title of the book has the word art in it. By the way, don't be scared with the pounds and dollars. All these books are freely available to my students. So all you have to do is enroll for a course in University of South Florida. I am an engineer. I am an electronics engineer, 5 years full time. And again, as Mario suggested, I have implemented it. I have an MBA as well, which is why I am able to teach an MBA class. Thank you, sir. But I am proud of the fact that software is now considered an engineering profession, because in 1982, the only thing I was given to do was write code in COBOL on Burroughs 1900, and all my senior engineering friends thought I have wasted my career. This is the 25th book, Artificial Intelligence for Business Optimization, and Hermann and Andy had again invited me to give a talk on it right here in this particular forum. But as you can see, the focus is on business optimization. There is one on big data, 3 of them on green IT or green computing. These 2 are work in progress, but Asha, my wife, sent a message from Sydney, Australia saying, stop writing all these silly books, simply write Harry Potter. And because Harry Potter earns money and these books don't. These are my areas of interest, research interest, in case any one of you are interested in collaborating as academics. We do 2 things, research and talk. And I'm doing the second right now. This is a call for papers, IT Pro, an issue coming up next year. So if any one of you are doing anything in 5G, 6G, from cybersecurity viewpoint, optimization viewpoint, networking viewpoint, please consider putting in your paper for this issue that I am special editor for. Now I have about 14.5 minutes remaining. This is all to make sure that Andy can have his meal without having a heart attack. Because when I start talking, it sometimes feels that I will never stop. Which is true actually, Andy. Andy had told me that, keep it in 20, and I said I'm like a rubber band. You can stretch me to 3 hours, that's the lecture time, or 3 minutes. He's kind, he said no, stick to 20. What is the importance or relevance of this word significance when it comes to today's age, digital age? This is my quest, this is my research, and let me show you something very interesting. Other than the fact that it takes about 4 years to grow a beard this size, but I am acknowledging Barry Beam, the giants of software engineering, and his spiral model was probably published when Andy was in his crib. Barry passed away very recently. Next to him is Tim Vail, again expert in security, and Rick Cohn, who is in NIST. So the memorial that was written for the great Barry Beam had some very interesting words in it, and I won't read all of it, but the one in bold says, a life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. This is written for an engineer. Yes, software engineer, but I think it applies to every engineer everywhere. And therefore my work, Significance in Digital Leadership, is to try and see if I can move our thought processes, the business thought processes, loosen the grip of success, loosen the grip of competition and introduce significance and collaboration as probably a complement, but hopefully even an alternative. And the quick question that comes to mind is, why are all these companies offering free softwares or packages? No, they are not altruistic. Google Maps brought me here safely and will take me back, although I know the road to my home, but I need to know if there is a speed trap on the way. And even if these organizations, these companies are doing it for market-driven capitalistic economy, I still think there is a role that they are realizing that is beyond competitive success, and that is how and in which way they are able to impact the society. I won't take you into greater details of the research. Today, in fact, I finished 16th interview from some of the top brains, top leaders of this country, both East and West Coast. And of course, open invitation, I have another 10 to 15 interviews to go through, about half an hour to 40 minutes. But the idea is to explore what these digital leaders think that would take their organizations beyond success. This was the reference to today's keynote, which you can see in the handouts that are there. But the idea is to explore significance beyond success. What do we really mean by significance? It requires the leaders to be strategic, but one of my key questions is, what is it that is different? And words like cybersecurity, blockchain over there, things that did not exist in the past is what the leaders have to worry about today. The second keyword that came about is big data. All decision making is supported, if not taken over, by analytics, artificial intelligence, and digital leaders need to keep data in mind. Here is another view, and agility is the word. Now, agile is not Scrum, although I have a deep respect for Ken Schwaber and Mike Beadle and the gurus of Scrum. But Scrum is a project management approach, whereas agility is a leadership characteristic. And the reason why it is required is because there is a phenomenal balancing act between success and impacting the lives of people around us. So that's agility and of course business analysis. Another very interesting thing, now about 10 minutes remaining, okay, 9 minutes, Andy. If I go to the American Airlines website, what all I can do? I can buy a return airfare, I can hire a car, I can book a hotel, I can take a tour, I can insure my whole trip. All these activities are not a forte of American Airlines, and yet it is able to do that. So the digital world has made the organizational boundaries porous, and therefore it is difficult to define an organization as was the case in the past. And in global terms, lots of outsourcing work continues to happen in the Philippines, in India, of course, Bangalore, and other places. So a digital leader needs to keep in mind that his or her organization will not be rigorously defined. Fuzzy boundaries, more on fuzzy boundaries and business agility. Another very interesting thing that came about was a digital leader needs to keep the dynamicity of his or her organization in mind. And why is that? Because decision making always happens in context. Context of the pandemic, context of the war happening, context of any major environmental impact. So the same analytics and the same models will not work if the context has changed. And this is where we were saying, or the people who are participating in the interview are saying, the planning, the rigors, the rigidity versus the agility. The reason why we need both is we have heard, let's think outside the box. In my management school, we try and teach our MBA students to think outside the box. And my opening statement to my students and all of you is, what is required in order to think outside the box? And the one answer is the box. Significance is value focused. I am here going through, is it 48 slides in 20 minutes? I can tick them through, but I am also making sure that my friend Andy is very comfortable in what I'm doing, which means I am focusing on value rather than only outcomes. There are risks, and a lot of material has come out in terms of risk, and I mentioned cybersecurity and privacy compliance. A global organization has a major challenge. The GDPR that applies in Europe does not apply in our country. And then there are rules that apply in Australia that don't apply here. So risk and failures are wide and varied. But again, cybersecurity and rules compliance are the major ones. You may or may not have heard, but Optus Singtel, which is the second largest telecom provider in Australia, got hacked last month, and 9.5 million records were stolen, and they are authentic. Only 10,000 were put up online by the hacker. We don't know who he or she is. And the population of Australia is 25 million. So Medicare cards and passports and driver's license all hacked. And if someone says, what's the risk for digital leaders? It's cybersecurity, one of them. And again, blockchains can come to rescue, but there is some process required there. I asked my participants, we talk about lateral thinking, Edward de Bono's blue sky thinking, we talk about critical thinking. What is it that we need for our digital leaders? And strategic, cybersecurity, very interesting answers came about. And again, here I'm trying to differentiate between a strategic approach by digital leadership as compared to tactical and operational. This slide is simply to impress you, and it looks more like a pasta dish or an Indian curry, but it took me 3 years to build this, and it's all about a big data framework that has been used by some banks and other organizations in order to implement big data. Engineers many a times shy away from the words ethics and compassion sometimes. And I absolutely think ethics, compassion, wisdom, which are soft words and which are not easy to define, do play a very important role. Because you don't need corrupt data in order to be biased in your decision making. You may have authentic, valid data, and still the AI model can spew out a biased recommendation. And we all know that. I'm not going into too many details of that. So explainable AI, I still write for Qatar, which is now a R30 little company from an industry viewpoint. And this was all on explainable AI. And trust in privacy, compassion, superimposition of natural intelligence on artificial intelligence. So this is the known unknown metrics of AI and NI. And finally, it was interesting in the 16 in-depth interviews I have conducted so far, I am getting all kind of responses when this question is asked: government policies, rules, do they have a role to play in digital leadership in significance? From completely no roles because governments do not understand what industry does, through to yes, making digital organizations compliant. So again, very interesting exploration. We cannot ignore people, and there is a change in mindset that the digital leaders need to work on continuously. And that change in mindset is because, I mean, some of us rich folks in this room must be driving their Teslas. I'm a poor man. My wife might drive Tesla, but not me. Two different things. I do like go-karts, by the way, but they don't allow me to ride go-karts from Sarasota to St. Pete. But if you are going to hand over the control of your precious Tesla to the AI model in the car, at this stage, I would recommend you don't. That goes to so many other things in life, you know, like marriage, for example. You can't hand it over to artificial intelligence. So please do keep natural intelligence in mind, because data science and people do matter. And I think I'm going to stick to the last 1.5 minutes that remains of the 20. Andy, just wink and I'll go for another 1.5 hours. Man, you guys are having your meals, and poor Khalid and I are only two people who are not having meals. And this was a highly paid assignment, by the way, including parking. I mean, talk about inflation. Academics, tenured professors don't get any bonuses or increments. So there you go. So that took away the 30 seconds. So in the last 1 minute, I simply want to thank you all for being such a wonderful audience, in spite of the fact that none of you stopped eating when I was talking.
Sorry.
Oh, no, please. Take it as a joke, you know, we are allowed, academics can joke. But look at this wonderful statement by Dr. Deepak Chopra. Technology is our creation. We weren't created by technology. So let's use our creation to bring about a healing. At the most fundamental level, we are not just connected. We, all of us in this room, are inseparable. Thank you very much.
Move on, just on time. Just on time.
And they say Indians cannot manage time.
You know, he makes a good point.